that momentum for everybody. And you have a responsibility. So it's kind of fun. It's also, if you were to look at any franchise, that there are requirements to keep your franchise. And what's beautiful about getting to the SC position is you're creating that factory of VFs, and then you're helping others to rise to that SC position. And today I'm very excited to be introducing our hostess, and that is Sarah Rossi. And she is an ex-corporate finance attorney and entrepreneur for 10 years, first in finance and now in functional medicine. She's a mom of 4. She lives in Majorca and has a practice in London and online. And she is just an amazing woman. I love being with her. I don't know if anybody has been following her 20 activities in 20 days, but it's fabulous. Just think that and I just love the information that you're sharing. It's really, you're using social media the way that social media should be used, and that is by adding value. I can't wait to see your kids every time sharing their breakfast. We have so much fun. My husband's like, show it again, show it again, show it again. I love it. So very excited, Sarah. You're creating a great team around the world. And just going to pass it on over to you to really share with people how to get their people to that sales coordinator position and keep duplicating. So I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Hi, everybody. It is so nice to be with you. It's late my time here in Spain. I imagine it's at different time zones for the rest of you. And it is a real pleasure to be here with you this evening. I thought a little bit about what I was going to share, and I realized that if I'm going to be totally authentic, it's going to be a combination. It's going to be a combination of practical tips and probably growth tips, because I don't think we make any of these transitions without some element of growth. And a lot of that growth will come from both things we do that are great and we think, good, I'd replicate that, and other things that we think, yeah, I maybe wouldn't do that so much, and you learn from it. And then you have the ability to share that with your team. And that's what's wonderful about calls like this. We can then share these things. So a bit of practical and also a bit of, the mindset sort of growth kind of thing. And also for you to ask, obviously, any questions, because I think it's really nice that we can be sort of so open with each other about the journey. So I've got no order. I'm going to jump between the sort of different topics, and I've written down a few things that I wanted to share with you. When I started in my Juice Plus business, we actually didn't have Zoom calls. I mean, it's not that long ago, but obviously Zoom is quite a new thing. So we were doing webinars, but the webinars weren't working quite so well. The platforms weren't so great. So we dived straight in with doing lots of live events. And when I look back at that time, in the first 6 months that I was in Juice Plus, I did SDD, and then we did another SDD, and we carried on going for sort of 6 months. And that, I know, came from what was quite hard work, but it was simply being really consistent with small in-person events. And I know that can seem a little out of kilter with all the Zoom calls we jump on now, but at the time, because we didn't intersperse them with Zoom calls, that was a really solid platform for getting really good interaction with people and getting them to really see what your passion was and what your passion is. And it was interesting when we did one of the training calls with Cheryl recently, that she totally embraced how important social media is, and obviously the ability that we can now have calls like we have now with everybody from different places, but nothing replicates that one-on-one, really sort of look in your eyes, see your passion, understand your belief, get your enthusiasm. And looking back at making those steps, that was so instrumental to us in creating a really solid customer base, even if it was ages beyond that time that maybe some of those customers became distributors. And what we were doing at the time is that my business partner in my functional medicine practice was also in Juice Plus with me. We would only be getting together for a week a month. And in that week a month, we would hit it hard. We're like, right, okay, we do 5 events, over 3 days or sometimes 2 days. And we would plan the topic. And like Lauren said, and I'll come back to social media, we always had a value added as well as Juice Plus. We didn't complicate it, but it was always like, okay, how do we add value to these people and talk about our passion for this product, as opposed to just come in and tell them that we know this product is amazing and everybody should be taking it. Of course, we wanted that message, but how did we build a situation where they knew that we actually cared about them and that we were doing this anyway, and that we were going to share this information anyway, and that we were so passionate about it. We were not focused just on the outcome of the product sale. We wanted to share with them. So that's what we did to begin with. And over time, we've tried lots of different things. I have to say, I think Zoom is now amazing because you can intersperse live in-person events, which can be quite a lot of effort, and it's not always practical because people are not always in the same location, with Zoom calls. But I think they're a really great building block. And now that we're starting new people up, I think it's a brilliant way to just take all of the, sometimes the over built up expectation of what events are, and just take it really back to its basics. Bring a few people together, really share from the heart. Don't have too much information. Don't try to be too impressive. Just share your story, add some value, meet people where they're at. And, I know you'll have all heard this, where they say, whether you have 3 people in the room or 30 people in the room or 300 people in the room, you come from the same place and with the same amount of passion. And I have to say that, we'd sometimes start off events and there'd be 3 or 4 people in the room, and, 2 of them would be looking out of the window, and you could see them with that mindset of like, yeah, what are you going to try to sell to me? And we used to have a little mantra before going into these events of thinking, you know what, we'll spot those ones and we'll do nothing to try to raise their guard or be defensive, but we will kill them with kindness because we really want those ones to hear the message. And it is really interesting because honestly, I would say that nearly every single time we encountered people like that, when you come really from your heart with a story and a belief and a passion that you really want to get across and you don't care about the outcome, they're the ones who, when they do stop looking out of the window or texting on their phone under the table, and they hear what you have to say, they really, really come that extra mile because there was something blocking them from wanting to hear it in the first place. But you've got to go that extra mile. And so that was the first thing. Don't, just because a lot of people go very fast on social media or via sort of, long distance medium, don't forget those people around, getting 2 or 3 women or men, but obviously it's often women, around a glass of champagne, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, children's play date, and really feel confident, share from your heart. So another thing I wanted to talk about was, we often hear this, and Lauren talks about it brilliantly so often, make it about them, have something that's bigger than yourself. And I really agree with that. And then I really think there's also the default bit that looks at what we get out of this too. So the bit about it serving someone else, I think, again, it's very much linked to outcome. I think sometimes when we go for positions, if you get too focused on the outcome of the position, it's like you're trying to force something to happen. Whereas again, when you come from a place that, what is the worst that can happen here? It takes me another 2 months to get there. A few more people say no. I realize that I have to improve certain elements of myself before I hit that goal. Then what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You're going to get there eventually, and you're going to have all of that amazing extra learning that you've picked up along the way. When you make it about the process and you're in it anyway, and you know that even for every rejection, for every no, you're either getting better or you're in any case improving the life of someone else, and you've divorced yourself from how quick it's going to happen, how much recognition, how much praise, how much whatever, it is win-win. It's totally win-win. And then the second thing is that even some days when it's hard to see that, because it's like, but I've been going at this so hard and it's not happening, and I've got all these goals and I promised myself and I promised people in the team, and if it doesn't happen to me, how are they going to be inspired to do it themselves? again, go back to a massive place of appreciation, because, okay, so you don't hit any of those goals in the way that you'd expected to, and you've not impressed the way you'd hoped to. But if you have made this business a ritual for yourself and for your life, so you're taking your product every day, you're sharing it, and you're growing from the responses, whether they're positive or negative, that's making you look at you and going, okay, what am I doing right? What am I not doing right? How am I inspiring? How do I need to improve? If you are bringing that learning into your family environment and into your personal life, then so what? So what? Because what you've got yourself is a way of living that becomes a ritual for you that makes you a better person the whole way through. And again, by focusing on that process, what's going to happen? Your result will come. And I think that when you make the step from SDD to SC, like Lauren was saying, with SDD, one of the biggest learnings I had to make is that you can force getting to SDD because of the numbers involved, really. You know, you can do it with a little bit of help. But obviously, to get to SC, you want to start to go, okay, what kind of consistent systems do I need to have? How do I break it down? And that requires just a different skill set. So, you know, if it takes a little bit longer, you can't lose. But in the process that you go along, you're going to be developing all of those skills that actually say, okay, I've learned to transition from being able to do something myself, which often, and especially women, I think we're very good at saying, right, I've got a goal, I've got to go and achieve it, I can go and achieve it, to how do I do this in a replicatable way, working in a team of potentially very diverse people who are not necessarily going to see it the same way that you do. And sometimes that takes a little longer than you expect. And sometimes I think that's necessary. So events was the first one. Doing small in-person events, I think, is a really, really useful thing to do. Making it about something bigger than you, so focusing on the process and not just on the outcome. And then remembering that you can only win, you can only get better in this process if you stick with it, are the first ones that I wanted to talk about. To go back on slightly more practical things, just like now, you know, I would use Zoom much more readily than obviously we didn't have it when we started, and I think it's a brilliant tool. Again, when I started, everybody was saying to me, well, it's just got to be duplicatable, it's got to be duplicatable. And I was thinking, yeah, I get that, I totally get that, but I don't really understand what that totally means. And I'll be really honest with that. Because I'm like, well, we're all so different, what is duplicatable? And everyone kept saying it's the system, it's the system, it's the system. I think probably now the easiest thing I've had to focus on is the 825+1, or taking some very simple unit. Because when you start somebody off, whether they have a massive vision or they're very scared of their vision, you need to be able to break it down. And I've always found it really fascinating in conferences where, you know, big earners have stood up and said, if you had given me the really big numbers at the beginning, I'd have been too scared for it because I wouldn't have thought that that was something that was attainable for me. But likewise, sometimes you get people who want the big numbers straight away. They want to be wowed by that because they're like, well, why am I going to give my time up otherwise? And I think the real key of duplicatability is to be able to say, it doesn't matter. You can decide along the process how much you're going to expand this, or how, you know, conservative you want to stay. This is your journey. This is your life. It's got to fit in. And actually, maybe in year one, you'll go at it 100%. In year two, you'll have to bring it down a bit. You know, life changes for each of us. And sometimes I think businesses go faster, sometimes slower. But if you have a very simple model, you know, like, and I don't know if it's similar in the different jurisdictions, it's 825+1, but it's saying, right, 825 of product. So for example, in the UK, that would be, you know, 4 premiums plus a little bit and 1 distributor every month. And you build on that model month in, month out, and then you teach your team to do the same. And, you can choose to modify that. And maybe in other countries, there's slightly different figures. I know there are slightly in Ireland in the euro compared to the UK, but it's a very simple model to say, look, if you did that every month and then you taught somebody else to do that every month, how could I see the business building? Because I think another thing that really hit me is that, this is a really interesting business model for people who've not necessarily been in business to come into business and start. And a lot of people, they've either been employed or they have no interest in sort of the full high-risk entrepreneurial route. But when you suddenly start putting the full picture of the business and the figures in front of them, it can actually be a little bit daunting. So, to talk to somebody who's trying to get from dealer to DD or DD to SDD, and you're sort of sitting there with your hundreds of thousands of potential, it can just be such a big gap. So I think now, for trying to get people from, I wouldn't even wait from SDD onwards, right from the very beginning, letting them really understand those basic units, so that they can bit by bit build their business and that they can teach others to do the same. Another key learning that I had as I went up from SDD to SC and then beyond that is that I think it's so exciting to find new people and new distributors and new customers. I know we're told right from the very beginning to really look after our customers, but I think that would be now one of the things I would almost put as a higher importance than continuing to find new people. Or let me just see if I can mute. Okay, I think I got that one. With your new customers, I think it's really interesting because I know when I was getting going, thinking that I put everybody into very clear customer pools or business pools. And when I ticked the customer box, I almost wouldn't, if I hadn't initially thought that they were going to be potential distributors, I'm like, okay, they're done. They're a customer, that's great. And then I'd scurry off to try to find more people because, you wanted to increase the volume. I wanted to get team members on. And, you listen to all the calls, but they don't always resonate until you're reflecting on it yourself. And they talk about the funnel and trying to make sure that you don't leak too many customers. And what I've realized is that, it takes a lot of customers, often a lot of time, before they start to look at other aspects of the business and or start to recommend it to other people. So just because you get a customer on board, and maybe they're very loyal to you and loyal personally, but you really need to treat them. And it's the same with distributors who don't seem to be active. I think sometimes something psychologically happens that we sign up a customer and we expect their loyalty, and we sign up a distributor and we expect a little bit more because they're signed up in our team, and we sort of leave them and we move on to other people. Whereas actually, I think that they watch us. And I think we have to remember that everyone will come to things at a different time, and that it's not that you shouldn't be putting your effort into the new potential. We have to do that all the time. But if you're creating material or you're sharing value, make sure that we keep giving it to those existing customers, because, sometimes we forget the really basic stuff we're taught, that those customers, they may or may not become your team, but they may open that window up to somebody else. And when you're wanting to go from the SDD level, or I can't remember what you call it, sorry, in the US, up to your SC level, that's exactly when you need to start relying on more than just you. You need to start looking at, well, where's the door opening, even if the person who's opening the door is not going to be the person who takes you there. And that, I think, probably leads on to something else that I was taught very much at the beginning and didn't really understand so much, is that I think you can often get to your first couple of levels with people and then have an expectation that they're going to continue to go at the speed that you want them to go. And again, I'm sure you've heard where people say, the people who take you to one level are not necessarily going to be the people who take you to another level. And I think as you start to move up the levels where you need more and more people to actually help you, that is a really good time to trade your expectations. And if you have members of your team who've got to a certain point and it's been more of a, well, that was exciting, it was great, but I'm not going to push myself to the next level, that again, you treat them with so much value and so much love, but don't get massively frustrated trying to push them to a level because you need to go to another level. I think it is much better then to say, look, even if it takes me a little bit longer, I'm going to open up my prospect net. I'm not going to cling on to a few, and you're going to continue to seed, plant the seed, plant the seed, plant the seed, plant the seed, and continue to give your love and value to those who took you there to that first level in the first place. Because I've seen that certainly in my business, and I've heard it the more I've spoken to people and taken advice. And you know, you may well go through it, but I certainly have. I thought, gosh, I wish I hadn't got to a frustration point, just anticipating that because what they said they wanted in the first place was going to come through at the same time scale that I wanted to move forward. Right, what else have I put down? Really simple. When you're starting to move up from SDD to SC or start to look to that, again, a little bit aligned with that. If you have great movers in your business or people who've got great potential, and I've noticed this happens, and the number of people I've spoken to, and I think, again, it's a normal human psychology point, is don't overlook the ones who are really committed. You know, again, sometimes those who are working hard are like, okay, well, they're great. You know, they're going to do it anyway. Make sure you have a system for check-ins so that they do know that they're being supported. Because sometimes, you know, if they think that you have the expectation on them, they won't want to bother you. And actually, you know, you really want to go back to that basics of working with the workers and making sure that you are checking with them regularly and that they know that you're there for them. Another really simple thing is that every call I go on, everybody talks about follow-up. And I think, again, Lauren is brilliant with this because I think she's just so incredibly persistent. And I honestly, the number of times I look back and I think, and now I still have my list of people who I need to follow up. And it's now such an old list, some of it, because, you know, they said no so vehemently and I didn't really want to venture back into those places. But when you want to make those jumps from one position to another position, again, what have you got to lose? They say no again. You know, but it's getting that boldness to say, actually, I have such a strong belief in this, I'm going to follow up with you. And I think that really, really is where the fortune is. Friends and family is a really interesting one as you go up from SDD to SC. And I just wanted to touch on it because there's so many different bits of advice about friends and family, and I understand both of them, or the main sort of two sides of it. I think when you first start, often people say don't you know, go after your friends and family, because if they're going to come down on you hard or they're going to be negative, that, you know, that can be quite difficult. And I've seen that happen with so many people in my team, and it is difficult. There's always growth out of it, so there's always something positive out of it, but it isn't easy when that happens. But obviously, once you've got past SDD and you're like, I'm doing this anyway, what are you going to do? You're going to keep them totally on the outside. You may still not want to have, you know, they may not be ready to be persuaded, or they're not going to come into your belief system. But one thing that I think is really nice when you're starting to say, I'm actually going to stick in this, is that you engage them. So that isn't saying, look, you've got to follow me, you've got to be on this product, you've got to agree with what I'm doing, but start to engage them. They don't have to agree with you. They don't have to sort of see this as their way of making money in the future. But if you don't engage with them, and this is a business that you want to stay in, it does become a noise. And actually what you've got to hope, and I believe will be the case, is that like with anyone else, if you stay totally consistent with your belief and your passion, your love for this business, they can be as stubborn and as off and for as long as they might want to be with you. But at a certain point, whether they voice it to you or not, there is likely to come a stage where they go, you know what, I do respect you sticking in with this, and you are going to be successful, you're going to make this happen, I can see it happening. But they're only really likely to do that if you engage with them from a place of love, not from a place of defensiveness, not from a place of I'm going to show you that I'm right, but that you actually say, look, I'm doing this. I would love for you to support me, but I want you to see what I'm doing. I believe in it. Because often the reason that they have so many barriers up, as you all know anyway, is to do with their own misconceptions or their fears, their fear of you changing. Maybe they wanted to do something like this and they haven't found that place to be able to move forward and do it, or simply just a lack of understanding. So I think that is a really nice place. And, I'd say from personal experience that I've been doing this a little while now, not that long. I've generally been supported, but behind my back, I haven't always been. And it's taken a very long time for some of those things to start to come out. And I'm really pleased that I did not shoot those people down, even though I knew what they actually did feel and they weren't saying to me. Because what it's meant is that they don't say it very often, but occasionally I get a question that shows a little bit more than just a little bit of interest. And I know that there's an opening coming. And I know that if I had responded on my intuition, I'd have closed those doors. And again, it's not a question of how fast you're going. If you're in this for the longer run, then ultimately, of course, we want those that we love to be on our side. And even if it's not for them, for us to have harmony with it, and for them, we hope that they will see it and say, you know what, maybe it's not for me, but I respect, I promote, because ultimately what we want to do, we want to share the message of what we're doing. And when those we love support us, then we feel much better about doing it. So I would say this, when you're looking at going from SDD and going, actually, I'm not going to just get to this level and stop, I'm going to really grow a business, that's a really good place for doing that. I'm just getting a bit conscious of time, so you do have to stop me if I need to stop. I want to touch quickly on social media and on DMO. Thank you, Lauren, for mentioning social media. I find social media interesting. I have a bit of a love-hate with it. I think you do need to find your own thing with it. I think the absolute key, if you're moving up to this next level, it's to say, I think it's your little sort of flag in the sand saying, I'm doing this business really. I'm not just somebody who's come on and posted a bit about Juice Plus, I'm doing this. So you need to think about your social media strategy with that in mind. It's like, if I'm going to be in this for the next 10 years, what kind of a person do I want to show myself here? What's consistent? What's going to stand the test of time? What am I not going to fizzle out on? What's going to inspire people? And who is my avatar? And I know that can sound really marketing speak, but it's like, don't we hear at every conference? This is the perfect business for you being able to work with people that you want to work with. So who do I want to attract into my business? And I think when we start thinking like that, you start thinking about your own social media strategy and what really fits and works with your life. And, you'll have heard it at all the conventions. Be authentic, be real, be consistent, experiment as well. And, Laura mentioned something that we're doing at the moment. I'm doing 20 ways in 20 days for children. And it's 20 days where every day, I'm using my children, they love it, they're not being forced or paid, to share an aspect of healthy living. So today they did a video about clean water and what water does for children and what dehydration does for children. They've done tons of them. They've done Epsom salt baths, they've done eating a rainbow, they've done Lauren's affirmation cards, they are about to do sprouting. We're on day 11 today, and sometime between day 11 and day 20, they will do Juice Plus. They are doing 20 days of value added because we have a big group of people on our customer and prospect page, not all of whom take Juice Plus, and some are a bit scared, to be honest, some are scathing and skeptical about it. but they've all got children, and I know, because I speak to 90% of them, they all want to improve their children's health. Some of them are close to the fact that Juice Plus could do that, but they're all trying to find solutions. So we've come from a really authentic place and said, okay, let's share, because within this group, we've got these amazing women who are all trying to create health for their children, and let's share. So that's a bit of an experiment, but it's a very authentic, aligned experiment. And what can I say is, like, you know, you could get to the end of the 20 days, you don't have to take Juice Plus. But what I believe fundamentally is that everybody in that group will go, oh my gosh, these people actually really care about the health of their family. And I don't know where that ripple goes out, but, you know, if I was not in Juice Plus and I was seeing that, I know I'd be thinking, I need to get a bit closer to these people. Not because they're asking anything of me, but because they've got great value added and they're part of a great, vibrant community. So whatever it is for you, I think that social media can fit. I don't think it's not for everybody to post 10 times a day. It doesn't work. If you're forcing it, you know, it's probably not going to come across as authentic. So it's about finding your way there. With the DMO, I do think when you're moving up to SC and you're needing to bring more people on, I do think it's really important to be able to get people to do their DMO within an hour a day. I think now when I look at the 825 and the DMO, I wouldn't give too much information to somebody starting. I would say, look, can you give between half an hour and an hour a day, ideally an hour? And all those basic things, posting in the day, touching base, you know, with a team member once a week, doing good customer care, you know, I think that needs to fit within that, because I think that is the real value. I think you will find people who want to do this like 5, 6, 7 hours a day, but for me personally, I don't think that's a realistic expectation at the beginning, and I don't think it's what you want to be setting an expectation of with people. The biggest tip I could give, if you're wanting to move from maybe your warm market that got you to SDD to SC, is I don't understand why we have such an issue about talking to strangers with this. I think it's the best thing we should ever do, because all of the objections we have about rejection don't apply. I think it's the best practice ground. I think it's a brilliant way of starting new people up who say, oh, but my friends won't like it, or my family might think this and that. You're like, great, then go and save people for whom this is just a simple, random act of kindness by sharing it with them. So practice, 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 and be really, really open. And then I think my last things, I think as you're going to go up to the next stage, and again, you're making this a real commitment that I'm doing this with or without my current team, however long it takes me, this is just part of my DNA, this is part of my life, is that really spend a bit of time. Don't put yourself under pressure that's not sustainable in terms of simply meeting targets. Look around this business. There are amazing people in this business, and they're all very, very different. And it doesn't have to be your upline. It doesn't have to be the biggest earner in this business. Find 1 or 2 or 3 people who you go, there is something about you that makes me feel that I am in the right place and I'm doing the right thing, and I am not going to let other people's, you know, transient thoughts or negativity push me down. Find those people, connect with those people, and when you have times that are challenging or that make you, you know, wonder whether you should be doing this or whether you're going to get where you want to get to go, reach out to those people, because I can absolutely guarantee you that those who are actually worth something in the business and have probably resonated with you have gone through a period where they've probably felt the same. And honestly, what those people will be so willing to do is to hear you and share with you and share why they looked around and went, I'm not throwing this away. it may not be working for me right now. I might not be getting the results I want right now, but there is something so much greater here than the slight uncomfortableness I'm going through, and that actually maybe that is the gift in the process. So we relate to different people. Find those ones who are going to inspire you and pull you back, so that, you know, when you're going through a difficult moment, you plug into the right energy source, and not give in to the sort of gremlins in your ear. Last couple is don't be a martyr. Don't be a martyr to your team. Don't be a martyr to commitments you've made that you then realize aren't working for you. You know, you're a business person. I know this is about network marketing, and I know this is about growing up people in your team, but sometimes people will make tons of promises, or you'll have lots of expectations in people that maybe weren't, you know, they hadn't proved themselves, or you made too quickly. So don't, you know, just because you bring people in doesn't mean that you're there to mother them. And I've definitely made that mistake a ton of times. So, you know, that's really key. And the other thing is that if you're at SDD and you're about to go to SC, or that's your next step, remember already that you are one of the tiny percentage of people who actually step up in this business and actually move forward. So, you know, you may be thinking, God, I'm miles from where I want to be. But you've already stepped up more than the vast majority of people who are going to do a network marketing. So, you know, I think stopping and being kind is super, super important on that. Right, Lauren, I'm probably running out of time. So,
no, I mean, I'm loving it. I'm loving everything. And I think there's so much that people can model of what you've shared on the call. I mean, for me, I've really been inspired by, you know, your 20 and 20 days. And Asher and I have been making our list, you know, because people are always asking, you know, what do we do? I mean, and there's, I'd say 2/3 of the people right now are on the call, you know, and I have a blast with my daughter. So why wouldn't I want to include her in, like you said, that 20 and 20 days, you know, type of thing, or maybe it's 30 and 30 days, or maybe it's 15 and 15 days, you know, or 5 and 5 days, you know, whatever that it is for you. But I mean, you know, it's great. I mean, to see my husband actually want to watch something on social media, you know, is great. And because you're really adding value. And remember, that's really why social media is created, to add value, you know. And I keep using the example, you know, that a friend of mine, she 9 years. And one day she said, sign me up. And I'm like, sign you up for what? And she's like, for Juice Plus. I've been watching you for 9 years. Yeah. And her just seeing the consistency got her curious, right? So you don't know what it's going to be, like what moment that it is for people. But like you said, you've got to do those income producing activities. If you really want to grow your business, guys, and you look at what people are doing, one, they're rising people up anytime, you know, so any of you that have first time qualifiers, you should be posting on the, you know, on the YOLO page, on their page. Congratulations, first time qualifier. If they're new to the business, post their picture and how proud you are of them. You know, second thing you should be doing is planning events. Once again, I really want to acknowledge Tasha. She had 50 people and 20 on the line. She got together with her sidelines, got everybody together. They did a great event on Saturday. You know, Tasha, I'm not sure what your results were, but I know that they were pretty good and got new distributors and new customers as well. Not just for her, but all the sidelines as well. So events, like you said, bringing them into your home, just having some wine and connecting with people and, you know, showing people you actually really care about them. You want to be with them and you want that quality time with them. And then, you know, doing those, you know, income producing activities, adding value as much as you can, follow up, the fortunes and the follow up. You know, everybody right now should be, you know, even like me today, I sent out 42 text/emails to people that say that they've been interested and wanting to know about the conference, you know, and I'm offering the first, you know, 5 that I'll pay for their, you know, their meal ticket and their conference ticket. So the fortunes and the follow-up, I don't know, 2 might follow up out of those 42, but it's worth it, right? Because you just don't know who's going to be that person. But if you don't follow up, you guys, I mean, I don't know, I think Mary Beth's on the line, right? Mary Beth's on the line, and Mary Beth will tell you how many times I drove her freaking crazy, you know, but now she's decided this is for her. because it's something bigger than herself. I think she's on the line, but I think it's, you just never know when that's going to happen. I thought it was an extraordinary call, an event. Does anybody have any questions? You can unmute your line just if you want to share something real quick, real concise and quick that you feel add value for everybody on the line. Anyone? Nope.
Yeah, I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Hi, Sarah. Everything that you said, I've had all these thousands of notes that I took as far as what you're saying, because I related to a lot of it, and it was very refreshing. One of the things that I that popped to my mind was when you were talking about how you approach people and how that balance that you were kind of touching upon regarding your passion to really drive yourself and go forward, and handling people or prospects in front of you with almost with white gloves, right? Yeah. And more importantly, in my case, I mean, you seem to be very level-headed. I want to know I hope that you were not always level-headed, that you were kind of like a bulldozer. And I want to know, if that were the case, how did you transition into this woman that is so level-headed, so well-spoken, and so gentle but powerful? The reason I ask is because, as you can tell, I hope you can tell, I know what I want, and what I feel sometimes happens is that I get so passionate that I actually I scare people away. That's my impression, right? I almost like, oh my God, this would be so amazing for you. And I have gotten better as far as asking 10,000 questions, but then it gets to the other extreme where I'm asking questions. Like 45 minutes later, the person goes like, oh, that was so great. Okay, bye. And nothing really has happened. So there you go.
Okay, so I'm aware of time. I could talk to you about this all day. I'm Italian, so I'm not that level-headed. I'm just going to put that out there right now. And some of the eloquent.
Well, I'm Puerto Rican, so.
Yeah, no, the eloquent stuff comes from years of being a lawyer. It hides quite a lot. What I would say is that one of the things I didn't talk about, which I did write down because I thought maybe this is a little bit too personal development wise, is, I think this business is awesome for how we have to grow to get to different levels. I think you look at a marketing plan and you've got 5-10 levels you go up. I think often personally we have to grow many different levels before we can move to another level. And of course that's different for every single person. And I think that phrase that Lauren uses and Jerry uses, and we've all heard it so much, about disciplining our disappointments, is something that for some of us comes more naturally, and for others of us takes more looking inside, looking in the mirror. And I think that it goes very hand in hand with trading expectations for appreciation. And I think I really do think they work hand in hand, together with the third concept, which is, I am going to do this anyway, and I am going to set my example by how I live, not by what I tell you that I think you should be doing. And I think they're a triad almost. And I think you have to keep working on them, because I think when you are somebody with a ton of passion and a ton of enthusiasm and you wear it all on your sleeve, yeah, there is the chance that you're going to not say anything because you're so frustrated, and then you say way too much and someone's like, no, you're not meeting me where I'm at, right? So that's one thing. And then you feel sort of so affronted because it's like, oh my God, but I put all this effort into you and I so want you to get this result and now I'm so disappointed. You must go totally the other way. And then actually what we haven't done, the big piece we've missed in all of that is, and it's what I talked about a bit earlier on, if I just knew that just by living this life, just by being a product of the product, just by having appreciation for the fact that I've been given this opportunity, I become a better person every day. Just by living that, you are going to see. And yes, I'd love you to be on this product, but if it takes you 10 years of seeing what I'm going to do anyway, I don't have any disappointment because I'm getting better every day. And I'm going to model myself, and I'm not going to be swayed up and down by the response of those around us. But I don't think that this comes straight away. And I think sometimes we're so excited about it, we want to have the perfect finessed approach with everybody, and to be getting the benefits, and not to be up and down, and to get the results. And I think that all you're seeing, which is the same for all of us, is a mirror reflection of what we need to be working on for ourselves. And I think the only place you can start is by going, I'm just so grateful to be on this journey. Any yes I get is a massive bonus. Any no I get is an even bigger bonus, because it's showing me that I need to modify things a little bit. And actually, I have to tell you, I have had some really tricky times in this business. I've hated it at moments, because it's touched bits of me that have been way too raw, and I've gone like, what? Why? But I love it more than that, because I know I'm not a quitter, and I know I need to look at why it's triggering these feelings in me. And actually, sometimes when I've withdrawn to go on to work on those, but I keep following my rituals of being a product of the Juice Plus product, people come and ask me the questions that beforehand I was overwhelming them with. And I think, that's not an easy lesson, because that really makes us look at ourselves, and it's much easier to look at other people than it is to look at ourselves. But I think that is the big thing. I don't know if that helps.
And I think that's really good. And I think also, for Andre, I mean, one, that passion is beautiful. I think that if you really live by FOMO, fear of missing out for people, and knowing that people really need you more than you need them. I mean, you're in LA. I mean, if you went to, I love you, I care about you, I respect you, just come, and I want you to meet these people who really have what we want, you guys. We're working so hard, here in LA, and being actors and trying to really make it happen, and to make our journey so much, and that you love them and you care about them, and you have no expectations, but it and just breathe, and just care for people, and you've got so many great things to add. I think Tasha really touched it. We were talking about the mall thing. Maybe for you it's the actors thing. We've gone through this a couple times. What are some of the things that you could help struggling actors with there in LA? There's a wound. You can heal that wound. Tasha was able to heal that wound now with her model. We talked about this. It's got to be, it's got to be. Go for it. You want to go for. You got to do the above the line. Go on. Let her your question. When you question it, and does get great results for just scaring people away. Andre?
Yes, I'm here. I'm absolutely here. I'm hanging to every word you're saying, but you were breaking up a little bit.
So who's someone that's passionate, that doesn't scare people away, but rather inspires people through their passion, that is getting the results by their passion?
Oh, who? Are you asking me? Linda is, Adam is, Tasha is. The issue is not so much about like identifying people who are that way. The key for me, the gap for me, and Sarah, pointed out to a lot of things about shifting the focus. But the key, the gap for me has been, to me, it seems like, yeah, that's great that Adam and Linda and Tasha are where they are as far as like the way that they approach people and they attract people. The key to me is right now, how do I get to that? Because, like I told a lot of people, and what I've observed about myself, and I'll make it very close, it's not about me, but is that I have everything set. Like once I talk, once someone is on this side of the court, I can talk to them about nutrition. I can inspire them. I can tweak this, and I've done that. I've done that for a lot of people who are sidelines. So that's not the issue. The first part is the one that I'm frustrated with, that I feel like I'm hitting myself against the wall. But I feel that the one thing that I got from Sarah is that shift of saying and what you just said, breathe. And just being able to know that if you have a mission of becoming this amazing person, then this is part of the training. So take it more of a training for me, and making me more useful for anyone else, rather than.
So let's use an example for a second. Tasha made a transition and made a shift. It wasn't always that way for Tasha. So she had to look and see what was her blind spot. Same thing with Linda. Same thing for most of us. You know, I'll use examples with regards to, you know, even Suzanne, or maybe a Zoe, or maybe a Wendy. Like Wendy's a great example as well on this call, right? Of when you're really just staying true to you. Because the truth is, when you're staying true to you and you're really authentically you, then people look and they go, what, you know, I want to be a part of that. Once again, FOMO, fear of missing out. I know that Wendy's experiencing that a lot now. I'm, you know, acknowledging her. And same thing with what's happening for Tasha. Same thing that's what's happening for Zoe. Same thing of what's happening with Suzanne, you know? So it's like, what is it right now for you? Yeah, Simone's saying the same thing, right? So, I'm sorry. So, you know, for you, it's like really, you know, here's the question. Let's ask you the question. What attracted you to Juice Plus in the first place? What attracted you to this mission? And before you answer, Andre, I want you to come from your core, not from your throat. I want you just to, from your core, from your core, like really from the depths of why. It's like when you heard Alita St. James talk about the boy that was burned. Remember that day when you were hearing her NMD speech at conference?
Yeah.
And remember when that day? So I want you to come. So lower your voice, not from such a place of frustration, but from that place when you really remember that NMD speech. Because if I remember that of all the conferences that I've been through, and then here and seeing you at stage, and you knew, and guess what? You had the most growth in your business. Do you remember? Do you remember that? That's when you had the most growth. Why did you have the most? That's when you got sexy. Just no, I'm an elephant. I remember. So come from that depth. Why?
So
why this mission?
The same reason.
Core. Yeah.
So
deeper.
Okay.
Deeper.
Okay.
Deeper. Take a breath. How many of you guys can hear he needs to take a breath? Right? If you can chat and just say, why take a breath. How many of you can hear his frustration in his voice? It's pretty, Sarah, maybe you can coach him on this as well.
Do you know, I'd love to just say something, because when I wrote some notes about this talk, about coming on this evening, mindset is what I love. And I thought, God, Sarah, don't talk about mindset too much. You've got to be practical on this call. So I just opened my book to write something down based on what your question. And I don't know if you can see this before you come back to Lauren, but I didn't read this stuff out. When I actually stopped earlier on and wrote, what is my biggest piece of advice? It just says, stop, pause, breathe, and remember your why. I mean, if I could have talked about non-practical steps, that's all I would have talked about this evening. When you're hitting those places, it's just like, stop listening to everyone else. Stop listening to the voice inside your head that's telling you that you're too passionate, or you're too quick, or you're too this, or you're too that. Just stop and take a step back for a little bit and pause and go, why am I not quitting this? So it's making me feel like this, but I'm not quitting it. Why? Because something anchored me to come into this to begin with. And there's nothing, I think sometimes we're so ready to want to show that we're never taking a little step off path. Take your step off path, go to that corner and remember why you're doing this, even though you're not feeling great right now. Why? Because it's that rooting, it's that anchoring, it's that grounding that you need to go back to those people who will hear you with that, coming from that place that is, I am doing this regardless. I have total certainty that I'm going to find my path in my time, in my rhythm. And I'm not then you become more like flow, not forward. But you've got to find that place to pause and remember your very own unique why, not anybody else's. And I don't know if I've lost you.
If I can remember of all the hundreds of people that, so Andre, if I can remember of all the hundreds of people that have come to conference, and I can remember that moment, and I can remember that moment where you really said, no one's taking this away from me. I'm not giving it away, you know? And all of these people that you mentioned that, you know, are inspiring, they had a, excuse my language, a fuck it moment. We've all had a fuck it moment, you know? So for you, you know, and I hope this is serving everybody, you know, but like she said, sometimes you just got to stop and just go, you know what, I'm not going to stop comparing myself to everybody else, because I think that's a big challenge, you know, for most of us, is comparing ourselves to everybody else. And then two, you know, what is it now for you to go, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to call every person that I know. I'm going to talk to every person. I'm just going to say, you know, I'm here to, because I love them, I care about them. And I don't know what it is for you. But what do you need to take a big, deep breath with right now, as she shared? And hopefully all of you on this line are getting something from this. I'd love to see a chat. Can you see if there's anything here, just because I'm waiting for something? I'm going to make you look through everything.
I still have to go through it.
Okay. All right.
So the reason why I am still in Juice Plus, and the reason why I peeked into Juice Plus was because the same reason why I started acting. I remember how I'm sorry. So I remember how I felt the first time I was moved by acting. I was blown away. I was so happy. I was so moved. I laughed, and I wanted to learn how to convey that, how to make people feel that way. And when and in a way behind that, I've always felt that I came here to contribute and to make to make a significant change to life, not for my own ego, but just because, you know, I guess because my brother being handicapped, and me wanting to let him know that his life was purposeful, that it was purpose filled. So, you know,
So let me ask you a question as you're listening to Andre. What are you guys feeling? How many of you feel more connected to him? How many of you feel like if he went back to that place, if he did if he really shared from that place? I mean, how many of you can feel the difference? I mean, truly feel the difference. Chat if you can, or Sarah, maybe you can give him some coaching. Or
Andre, I can just hear such a huge, so going back to that very first point that I made this evening about getting in a room with people and actually letting them see and hear and feel you. When did you last do that with people? When did you, because I think we get so in the motion of I'm in Juice Plus, but it's like, what does that mean? How are you sharing? What situations are you creating that you're actually sharing? When did you last sit in an event? And by that I mean just like even a few people or one person or two people where you actually show from that authentic place why this product means that much to you and why you care about that person enough for you to actually do it, as opposed to just being, say, on Facebook or being part of calls, like actually being in an event where someone can feel, even the way I can feel right now, you having made that shift to a place of really sharing this.
I haven't. I mean, I try, and I get it. I almost quote this, but I mean, I've never been this naked. Honestly, I've never been this naked as far as like connecting, because I feel that once I get to that point, well, regardless, I haven't.
Okay.
I feel that, you know, especially on Facebook, and I was even talking to Tasha about this today. I said, I just feel like I know that there are people like me who are who are locked in the closet, put on a mask and say everything's fine, but their life is falling apart. And I mean, I hurt for them because I've been there. And also another reason why I love Juice Plus and I love this marketing plan is because it allows anyone and everyone to start at wherever they are. It doesn't matter if you have a diploma and God knows what. It doesn't matter if you don't have a diploma. What matters is that you have that passion, that willingness to bring value and want to make a difference in this world. And that to me is the most important thing. That to me is why I want to do this, you know? But I feel like that it's kind of like, especially you just mentioned Facebook. It's kind of like, oh, look at this, look at that, let's do the show, la, la, la.
Yeah, right. And so when you asked me that first question, like when you were saying, I get in there and I tell them all this stuff and I blah, 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 that's totally the opposite of what you've just done. That's totally the opposite. Because what you've just done in the last minute is actually, I don't, you know, if I hadn't come in on the call before this, I don't really know what the product is that you're so passionate about. I don't really know why it is. But what you've hit me with first is the fact that you are. And there's something that I need to know that you know that I don't know yet. But unless you're there in that raw space, interacting with someone in that way, how the hell do I get a chance to ask you that question? Right? Because if you're just coming at me with all the information, all the knowledge, I don't need anything else, thanks. You know, it's all, and you know what? You've not gone there. And actually the funny psychological thing is you probably haven't earned that yes from me either, because you've just given that over enthusiastic spiel kind of thing. And I don't get me wrong, I'm not putting any information down, but that isn't why you came in. And that's not what you're going to want to inspire other people to come in for too, because you want them, you know, sure, somebody's going to come and take the product and maybe go off the product, but what you're really looking for is those people who are going to see the opportunity and they're going to feel it and they're going to know that they can team with you and you together are going to make even more of a difference than you can make by yourself. But you've got to go to that place, because otherwise you're just more information.
I absolutely get that.
And Andre, when you really hear everybody's stories, an Adam, a Linda, you know, whoever, that hopefully all of us, you know, that you realize that we realize that that's really where we grew the most, was when we were vulnerable with people and we share with them. I mean, you know my story inside and out. I got started because of Amanda, right? I mean, and so hopefully you guys got something from this little, I mean, I love you, Andre. I mean, this guy's typing, please, let's do events for actors. I mean, she's in there typing in the chat. Please, let's do, you know, that. So.
Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah, you guys can plan an event before conference. You and Sky can easily plan an event before conference. You got 2 weeks. You could do 3 events, you know, a decision, and it's a resolve.
And Andre, I'm desperate to hook up with a Spanish speaker because I've got so many Spanish people and I can't speak the language well enough. So, you know, there's another angle there. I'm very, very happy to do some stuff with you if you would like to.
Oh my God, yes. Done. Okay. Hey, if I knew that this is okay, so let me not joke it off. I really appreciate it. I thank you very much for this time, because, and I hope that this has been, I hope that this has been of service to everyone else. But I have to say that I've seen the stories play out. Obviously, not so much with the snot and the tears. And I've heard many times that the moment of breakthrough for a lot of people has been that vulnerability. But to me, I guess at this point, vulnerability in my case, I thought, they're not going to want to hear my story. They won't even care. What's so good about my story?
So let me ask you a question. Let's model someone from a masculine point of view for a second, okay? Let's model a Lou and his story about his daughter, right? Because everybody can relate to somebody who, you know, so it does, you gotta realize that if you can heal that wound again, Andre, and you can also hear, I don't know if you guys could hear it, but Andre was very fired up when she said about the versus so much about the actors. It was very interesting, the difference in your tonality. She mentioned about the Spanish community versus the actor community? How many of you could hear the difference?
Well, I can
It's
tell
not
you.
inspired.
I can tell you. It's not that I'm not inspired about the actors. It's that as far as Spanish, there's no one that can beat me at that. No one. As far as acting, they're gonna say, "Well, what TV series have you been on? And what are you doing now?" And all that stuff. So there's always that kind of thing. I know the bullshit of acting. I know the BS. Sorry for my French. I know the bullshit of acting.
How many of you guys are hearing the difference? Or what you guys do you hear the difference? So if you know that, if you know that, right? I mean, how many can hear the voice? You hear different. You can hear a whole shift in the community. Oh my God, right? Especially in Southern California. So what could you do right now in Southern California to really reach out to the Spanish community, and how big a group could you get to really come to conference on that Spanish community? Yeah. Really, if you really went for it, if you really said for the next week or 2 weeks, if you really hunkered down and then you said, I'm gonna have a goal of getting, 30 people to the Spanish, to the conferences that are from the Spanish community. I mean, really committed. I guarantee you could do it. Okay. And here's the deal: for every person that you get from the Spanish community to come to conference, I give you $25.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm writing it down.
Every person. So get yourself 100 people from the Spanish community, so I can give you $2,500 cash. But they got to be there. They got to be there at the conference with you. So where do you need to go find them? What do you need to get into? What do you need to dive into? So Sarah, this has been an amazing call. I know. Anybody have any last bits that they want to share? $25, Andre, for every person that commits to being at conference with you. Get 100 people there. You can do it. You find 500 people, put on 5 new frontline. I guarantee you they'll at least bring 5 people to that event. Get 25. I don't care. If you own it. If you're ready to own it, like Adam decided to own those people from the trainer world, or a Melanie Brandt decided to own it from, or maybe, Suzanne Sadie, who decided to own it from the dentist, the worn out dentist, or, Wendy with the Moms on a Mission, decide, or Zoe with the Moms on a Mission, or Tasha with the, with regards to the models, own it. It's yours, ready for you, but you're going to have to take the income producing activities. That's what it takes to build it. Income producing activities, building relationships, really giving a shit about people, and you got this,
Can I just say one little thing that is so random, but I really want to share it. I had a conversation today with a lady who's come to help me here in Mallorca. I didn't know anything about her background. She is from Colombia, and she is here with one of her 2 daughters. She's got separated from the other one who is in LA, and she hasn't seen her for 5 years. And her father just tried to cross the border and got put into prison. So we had a conversation today. I'm helping her with work here so that she can help support her daughter in LA and her mother back in Colombia. It's just really fascinating to me that I had that conversation and found out about all of those within a few hours of coming onto this call, in which somebody then talks about trying to help Spanish community connections in exactly that area. So I just, I will reach out and put you guys in contact, because I think that's too much of a coincidence for an afternoon.
Okay. And I just sent you, before you hang up, I sent you my contact information here, so you can pass that on to
I will.
To them.
Okay.
And connect with me. Awesome. Awesome. And Sky, I'm getting in touch with you because we're doing shit. Sorry, guys. It's French. Take it as that language.
Awesome.
Okay. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Night, Lauren.
Good night.
Thank you, Sarah.
Night, everyone.